choke and stroke killer. Samuel Little, also known as the choke and stroke killer, was born on June 7, 1940, in Georgia. Abandoned by his mother, he was raised by his grandmother in Ohio. From a young age, he developed disturbing fantasies about strangling women and became obsessed with violent imagery. His troubled youth included criminal activity, leading to time in a juvenile institution. As an adult, Little lived a transient life, moving frequently and working odd jobs such as cemetery work and ambulance assisting. In 1961, he was sentenced to 3 years in prison for burglary and released in 1964. By 1975, he had been arrested 26 times across multiple states for crimes including assault, theft, and attempted rape. Despite repeated arrests, he often avoided serious punishment. In 1982, he was charged with murder but not indicted, and later acquitted in another case due to unreliable witness testimony. After moving to California, he was arrested again in 1984 for violent attacks on women and served prison time. After his release, he continued killing. In 2012, Little was arrested once more, and DNA evidence linked him to multiple murders. In 2014, he was convicted of killing 3 women and sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. Initially denying responsibility, he later confessed to dozens of murders across the United States. Samuel Little typically targeted vulnerable women, approaching them in public places and offering rides. He would then drive them to isolated areas, where he assaulted and manually strangled them, often using his physical strength and boxing skills. His method left minimal forensic evidence, allowing him to evade detection for decades while continuing his killings across multiple states. By 2018, he admitted to killing over 90 women between 1970 and 2005. Authorities have confirmed many of these cases, making him one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. Co-ed killer. Edmund Kemper, also known as the co-ed killer, was born on December 18, 1948, in Burbank, California, USA, the only son in a deeply troubled family. From childhood, he showed disturbing behavior, including violent fantasies, cruelty to animals, and morbid games. He had a dysfunctional relationship with his abusive and domineering mother, Clarnell, who often being locked in a basement. Despite being close to his father, he felt abandoned after his parents' divorce, and his behavior grew increasingly violent. At age 15 in 1964, Kemper murdered his grandparents, killing his grandmother after an argument, and then shooting his grandfather. He later said he wanted to know what killing felt like. Diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, he was sent to a maximum security psychiatric hospital. Between 1972 and 1973, Kemper murdered 6 young women, mostly college students. He lured them into his car, killed them in isolated areas, and brought their bodies home, where he dismembered them and kept parts as trophies. His victims included Marianne Pesci, Anita Luchessa, Aiko Koo, Cindy Schall, Rosalind Thorpe, and Alice Liu. On April 20, 1973, he murdered his mother and later her friend. He fled but soon confessed to police and was arrested. Found legally sane, he was convicted of multiple murders and sentenced to life imprisonment, where he agreed to be interviewed by FBI agents, offering detailed insights into his motives, thought processes, and behavior. These interviews helped investigators begin building a systematic approach to understanding serial offenders, an effort that would eventually evolve into modern profiling techniques. His willingness to speak candidly made him one of the most influential subjects in the FBI's early research into violent criminal psychology. Angel of Death. Donald Harvey, also known as Angel of Death, was born April 15, 1952, in Hamilton, Ohio, and raised in Boonville, Kentucky in a poor farming family. He suffered prolonged childhood sexual abuse, which he kept mostly secret. Harvey dropped out in 9th grade but earned a GED. After a 1971 burglary arrest, he joined the U.S. Air Force, but was discharged following suicide attempts and mental health struggles. Donald Harvey began working as a hospital orderly at 18, where he committed his first known murder by suffocating an elderly patient. Over time, he claimed to have killed multiple patients, often justifying his actions as mercy killings, though some were driven by anger. His victims varied widely but were often hospital patients. He used multiple methods, including poison, suffocation, and tampering with medical equipment. Beyond hospitals, he also poisoned acquaintances and family members, including his partner and neighbors. Donald Harvey was exposed in 1987 after cyanide was found in a patient's autopsy, linking him to murder. Investigations revealed suspicious deaths during his employment, leading to his confession of multiple killings. Facing possible execution, he accepted a plea deal, admitting to numerous murders. He pleaded guilty to dozens of counts across Ohio and Kentucky, receiving multiple life sentences. Although convicted of 37 murders, he claimed responsibility for as many as 50 victims. Donald Harvey used varied methods to kill, often targeting hospital patients under his care. He poisoned victims with arsenic or cyanide, suffocated them, or tampered with medical equipment like ventilators. Some killings involved insulin overdoses or contaminated fluids. His changing techniques helped him avoid suspicion, allowing him to continue murdering patients and others over many years without immediate detection. Donald Harvey died in 2017 after being beaten in prison. Fellow inmate James Elliott was later charged and sentenced for his murder. Elliott claimed he acted in protest of prison conditions and as vigilante justice, though prosecutors argued it was driven by jealousy. Despite Elliott's justification, the court rejected his reasoning, emphasizing that personal motives do not justify taking another person's life, and sentenced him to a long prison term. La Bestia. Luis Alfredo Garavito, often referred to as La Bestia, grew up in a deeply unstable and abusive household. Criminal profilers have frequently examined his childhood to understand the factors that may have contributed to his later behavior. Reports describe a home marked by violence, neglect, and emotional instability. At school, he struggled academically and experienced bullying and social isolation, eventually leaving school at an early age. Garavito also claimed he was abused during childhood, although some aspects of these claims remain disputed. Investigators have noted early behavioral problems, including aggression, social withdrawal, and other concerning signs that are often studied in offender development. During early adulthood, his instability continued. After moving to Trujillo, he reportedly faced further hardship and developed problems with alcohol. He displayed increasingly inappropriate and aggressive behavior, leading to repeated conflicts, brief periods of detention, and expulsions from places where he lived. Although he was able to maintain employment and form personal relationships, his violent temper, substance abuse, and controlling behavior became increasingly apparent. As an adult, Garavito reportedly struggled with severe mental health problems, including depression and episodes of psychosis, while continuing a pattern of criminal behavior. He sought help through religion, Alcoholics Anonymous, and psychiatric treatment, but these efforts did not stop his offending. Investigators later found evidence that many of his crimes were carefully planned, including the use of tools, written records, and the collection of personal items from victims. His ability to appear ordinary while committing serious crimes is frequently cited as an example of offender duality. Authorities believe Garavito began killing in 1992. He targeted vulnerable children by gaining their trust with money, gifts, or false promises before abducting them. His crimes occurred across multiple regions of Colombia, and he later confessed to more than 200 murders. The investigation reached a turning point in 1998 when authorities discovered multiple burial sites, prompting a nationwide investigation. Garavito was arrested in 1999 after forensic evidence linked him to the crimes. He confessed to approximately 140 murders and was convicted of 138. Although initially given one of the longest prison sentences in history, his sentence was later reduced under Colombian law. Scorecard killer. Randy Kraft was born in 1945 in Long Beach, California, and raised in a modest family with a distant father and supportive mother. An intelligent and well-liked student, he excelled academically and socially, developing an early interest in politics. He graduated high school with strong grades and later enrolled at Claremont Men's College to study economics, while privately grappling with his sexual identity. Randy Kraft attended Claremont, briefly supported conservative politics, then shifted to liberal views while exploring his sexuality. He worked in gay bars, used drugs, and became increasingly reckless. After serving briefly in the U.S. Air Force, he was discharged. In 1970, he committed a violent assault on a teenage boy, though no charges were filed. Randy Kraft was active between 1971 and 1983, and is suspected of killing around 67 young men, though he was convicted of 16 murders. He typically targeted victims aged 14 to 30, often luring them with offers of rides or alcohol. Many were drugged into unconsciousness before being restrained and killed through strangulation, asphyxiation, or blunt force. Bodies were frequently abandoned near freeways across California. Evidence suggested planning, including a personal scorecard tracking victims. Many victims showed signs of torture and high levels of alcohol or sedatives. His crimes extended beyond California, with some cases linked to Oregon and Michigan, reflecting a mobile and methodical offender pattern. Between 1975 and 1983, investigators linked a growing number of murders of young men across California and Oregon through similar patterns: drugging, binding, torture, and roadside body disposal. The breakthrough came after the abduction and murder of Keith Crotwell, when witnesses identified a distinctive car traced to Randy Kraft. Though initially released due to insufficient evidence, suspicion remained. Kraft continued killing, often targeting hitchhikers and Marines, using alcohol and sedatives before murdering them. His crimes spanned multiple states, complicating the investigation. In May 1983, he was finally arrested for drunk driving, when police discovered a dead victim in his car. This arrest exposed one of the most extensive serial murder cases in U.S. history. The Werewolf. Mikhail Viktorovich Popkov, born on March 7, 1964 in Norilsk, became the most prolific serial killer in Russian history, responsible for the murder of at least 87 women, with total confessions nearing 90 victims. Known as the Werewolf and the Angarsk Maniac, his crimes were marked by extreme brutality, including sexual assault, mutilation, and necrophilia. He operated mainly between 1992 and 2011 in Angarsk and the Irkutsk region, targeting women he deemed immoral. A former police officer, Popkov used his authority and uniform to gain victims' trust. He would patrol at night, offer women rides, and instead take them to isolated areas where he murdered them using weapons such as knives, axes, and blunt objects. His actions were driven by a distorted belief that he was cleansing society, along with personal delusions involving his wife's alleged infidelity. His background, including a troubled upbringing and possible family instability, has been examined by experts as a contributing factor to his psychological profile. For nearly 2 decades, Popkov evaded capture despite an ongoing investigation. Authorities eventually identified patterns linking the crimes, including tire tracks from a police-style vehicle. In 2012, a large-scale DNA screening of thousands of police personnel in Irkutsk led to his arrest. In 2015, Popkov was convicted of 22 murders and sentenced to life imprisonment. He later confessed to dozens more killings, leading to another trial in 2018, where he was convicted of 56 additional murders and given a second life sentence. Subsequent confessions and convictions between 2020 and 2023 further increased his confirmed victim count. His case highlights critical investigative lessons, including offender misuse of authority, the importance of forensic evidence like DNA, and the role of behavioral patterns in identifying long-term serial offenders. Green River Killer. Gary Ridgway, born February 18, 1949, is an American serial killer known as the Green River Killer, or Green River Strangler. He was convicted of murdering 49 women between 1982 and 1998 in Washington and Oregon, making him one of the most prolific confirmed serial killers in U.S. history. His victims were primarily vulnerable women, including sex workers and runaways, whom he targeted because he believed they were less likely to be reported missing quickly. Ridgway typically lured victims along Pacific Highway South, often gaining their trust before engaging in sexual activity, and then strangling them, usually by hand. After killing them, he disposed of their bodies in wooded or remote areas, frequently returning later to commit acts of necrophilia. Many bodies were discovered near the Green River, which led to his infamous nickname. Despite being a suspect as early as 1982, Ridgway evaded capture for nearly 2 decades due to lack of conclusive evidence. Investigators formed the Green River Task Force and even consulted serial killer Ted Bundy for insights. Ridgway passed a polygraph test in 1984, further delaying his arrest. It was only with advances in DNA profiling that authorities were finally able to link him to the crimes. He was arrested on November 30, 2001, at the Kenworth truck factory where he worked. In 2003, Ridgway entered a plea bargain to avoid the death penalty. He pleaded guilty to 48 counts of aggravated first-degree murder in exchange for revealing details about his crimes and helping locate victims' remains. He was sentenced to 48 life terms without parole, plus additional years for evidence tampering. Later, a 49th murder conviction added another life sentence. During interrogations, Ridgway confessed to killing at least 71 women, though not all cases were proven. He admitted targeting sex workers because they were easy to pick up and stated he hated them. His confessions helped recover several remains in close cold cases, though some victims remain unidentified or missing. Ridgway remains imprisoned at Washington State Penitentiary. His case is notable for the scale of his crimes, the length of time he evaded capture, and the role of forensic advancements in securing his conviction. Killer Clown. John Wayne Gacy was born in 1942 in Chicago and endured a troubled childhood marked by an abusive, alcoholic father. Despite health issues and insecurity, he sought approval through work and social involvement. As a young adult, he became active in politics and community groups, eventually managing restaurants, and later founding a construction business, PDM Contractors. Outwardly, he appeared successful, even performing as Pogo the Clown, earning the nickname Killer Clown. Beneath this facade, Gacy led a double life. Beginning in the late 1960s, he committed sexual assaults against young males, leading to his first conviction in 1968. After serving only 18 months, he returned to Chicago, where his crimes escalated. Between 1972 and 1978, he murdered at least 33 young men and boys. He lured victims with promises of jobs or money, then restrained and killed them, often using a rope tourniquet. Most bodies were buried beneath his house. Others were disposed of in a nearby river. Gacy's victims were mainly teenage boys and young men, often vulnerable individuals such as runaways or job seekers. He gained their trust, sometimes posing as an authority figure, then tricked them into handcuffs using a magic trick. Once restrained, he overpowered and killed them by strangulation. His crimes were uncovered in December 1978 after the disappearance of Robert Piest. A police search of his home revealed human remains, and Gacy later confessed to multiple murders. In 1980, he was convicted of 33 murders and sentenced to death. After years of appeals, he was executed on May 10, 1994, by lethal injection in Illinois, showing little remorse. Enjoyed the video? hit subscribe, then click one of these videos to watch other fascinating stories. Thanks for watching.